Thanks for joining us this afternoon. My name is Araullo, and today I shall be talking about my work as a journalist and the things that we should learn now that we are all part of the digital media revolution. So my career in journalism is really a product of television. But I was a creature of TV long before I even knew what journalism was all about. I was a part of an informative telemagazine show in the 90s called 5 and Up. I would be surprised if any of you guys have a recollection of this show. Probably not. Yeah. But these were some of my co-reporters back then. There were around 10 kiddie reporters who took turns reporting on different events, doing features, and doing spiels. You may recognize some of the people in this photo. You have Maxine Nagalona over here. Am I doing this right? Where's the pointer? Ay ka pala. Maxine, you have Gina Ortaleza, and of course, that is me in the white t-shirt. So 5 and Up was kind of ahead of its time. We were tasked to discuss many different topics, really all different topics under the sun, from travel, to food, to adventure, to interesting personalities. Speaking of interesting personalities, do you recognize this group? They're an old band, but they're one of the legends of Philippine rock and roll. I'll give you a clue. They composed one of their hit songs here at the Sunken Garden in UP Diliman. The fabulous part of the Philippines, this is the Razorheads. This is Eddie Buendia over here. We have Marcus somewhere over there. Buddy and Raymond were sitting in the Sunken Garden. So while we were playing, or while we were doing the interview, they actually composed one of their massive hits, which is Overdrive. Just a bit of a trivia. So aside from interesting personalities, we would occasionally tackle very interesting and serious topics such as health, poverty, and even sexual exploitation. So 5 and Up was really ahead of its time. And I was very privileged to join this very dynamic team. It's called the Probe Team, led by a respected veteran journalist named Checha Lazaro. And even though I was very young, I was quite inspired by this group's passion to tell stories. And even though they didn't have a lot of resources like the big networks, they were able to get the story and they were able to get things done. But we are talking about a different generation of journalists that were defined by the times that they were able to experience. Nowadays, we have a different landscape when it comes to the media. We're talking about the digital revolution or social media. So, the journalists of recent years have to grapple with all of the different changes that are happening in the media landscape, and it is changing still. It is really redefining how different media organizations pursue the news, which platforms to use, and also the feedback mechanism between the audience and your journalists, which you see on TV or you watch on television, or when you read them on paper rather. So my topic for today is how to pursue responsible journalism in the time of the digital revolution. This is a graphic over here. It's a little bit small, but it's the top messenger apps by country. And the Philippines is over here, obviously. So do you have any guess which is our top messenger in the Philippines? Facebook, very good. And then the green represents WhatsApp. Do you have WhatsApp in your phone as well? I was surprised that Viber actually wasn't #1 in the Philippines, but indeed it's #1 somewhere in Eastern Europe. So the Philippines is in the midst of a digital revolution. If it isn't in a revolution already, it's also very hyper-connected. So I guess the first thing I should ask you guys, as millennials or maybe digital natives, is how do you define or how do you see the profession of journalism? And if you have a microphone, you can use the microphone, but you can just maybe shout 1 or 2 words. For you, who do you think is a journalist, or what is a journalist for you? Anyone?
One word springs to mind, investigator.
Investigative journalists. Uncovering the story. Very good. Right. Anyone else? So I guess people who deliver the news, like uncover the facts and so on and so forth, right? This is loosely what most people think of journalists. But again, we are in a digital world, and it is changing the way people consume the news. This is the Digital Around the World report in 2018, and it shows that more than half the population, or 53%, have access to the internet. That's 4.021 billion people. Meron ba dito wala pa rin social media account of any kind? Anyone? I didn't think so. So, half of the people on Earth are connected somehow using social media or the internet. And what do we do on the internet? What's number one? Love, emo, mga hugot. So we mostly express our feelings of love and hurt and betrayal and so on and so forth on the internet. And what we also like doing is taking photos. Photo of the day, hashtag travel, hashtag happy. This is in Mount Pulag. And the time we spend on social media is also very interesting. So we usually spend around 8 hours at work. That's the minimum. And you have to sleep around 7 or 9 hours a day, depending on who you ask. But surprisingly, we also spend 9 hours and 29 minutes using the internet via any device. So we spend more time on our social media, on the internet, than most of us sleep or most of us work. That is astonishing. It takes more work to curate our social media feeds and to keep updated with the latest chismis than it is to actually work. Where are we most active on social media? Number one is still Facebook. Number two, YouTube. Number three, Facebook Messenger, which was separated. Number four is Instagram, and number five is Google. Is this true for this audience? Yeah, kasi I've been hearing that less and less young people like using Facebook. This is an average of people around the world, but it might be different for this audience. Do you guys like using Instagram more than Facebook nowadays? This is what I heard. Or messaging apps like WhatsApp, Snapchat, and so on and so forth. And what do we search on Google? What are the top queries in 2017? Number one is YouTube. Number two is Facebook. Number three is Google. This doesn't make sense to me. You're going to Google. It's weird. But number four is you. We Google ourselves a lot. Number four. Have you done this for your own name? Yes? Sino hindi pa nag-google na sarili niya? Sinungaling. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, this is a natural tendency because our digital imprint is as important as our real-life selves nowadays. What is missing from this picture? So we have Facebook, we have free, MP3, and again, MP3 pa ba? Facebook login codes for that very special Instagram post. NBA, Translate Movies, Yahoo, Convert to Yahoo Mail. What is missing from the top 20? Exactly. Alarmingly, we don't use the internet nowadays to search for news or current events. In fact, based on the latest report by the Reuters Institute, it showed that the use of social media for news has been on the decline for all key markets. Even for Facebook, in the US, it showed that it was down 9 percentage points compared to continuous growth in the previous years. One of the reasons why is the low trust in media. And it's where we talk about fake news. Have any of you seen this photograph floating around your social media sites? So this is a picture of the State of the Nation address recently, and it's a rally by the opposition. But with a simple change using Photoshop, they were able to change the lettering or the message in the tarpaulin, and they claim that it was a pro-Duterte rally. So this is an example of fake news. Now, personally, I noticed the proliferation of fake media sites right before the elections of 2016. So I would see these weird, strange sites with even stranger names like Philippines Trending News Worldwide Now, parang ganyan. And at first I didn't really take notice, I just thought that they have really bad taste in naming their site. But after a while, the stories kept popping up, and I was becoming increasingly alarmed that they were so widely shared with such questionable stories. So I decided to do some digging myself, and I found out that a lot of the stories were completely fabricated, with fake titles, fake quotes, and photos that were taken out of context. I tried reaching out to the editors of these media sites, and lo and behold, they were non-existent. And all of these media sites seemed like they were coordinated to really produce propaganda. So yes, we are living in an era where the boundary between what we consider as news and what we consider as social media is kind of dissolving. Because of social media, everyone can have a platform now to express our views and even spread misinformation. We can use it for good, or we can use it for evil. Now, this is a video that I took at the boundary of Myanmar and Bangladesh, and we did our story on the Rohingya crisis. And at that time, my cameraman wasn't allowed to walk all the way to the border, so I had to film everything myself. Please, sir. Ito yung kaso ng mga Rohingya dito sa border ng Bangladesh at Myanmar. Maliit pa raw itong grupong ito kung para sa mga nagpunta dito ng nakaraang mga araw. Pero kita-kita natin kung gano'n silang mapapunan ng tubig. Paminsan-minsan may mga nagdadala, pero hindi ako sigurado kung gano'ng kadalas yung mga nakikita kong bottled water. Bukod doon, madumi at mukhang delikado sa sakit itong kanilang kampo dahil wala naman silang mga CR o mga latrine dito. At sa mga nakausap ko, mukhang wala rin silang mapagpunan ng pagkain, so marami ang nagugutom. At nakikita ko yung mga bata, mas marami ang malnourished, hindi lamang mga... Alright, so I'm just giving you an example of taking video using your cell phone. Can any of you guys imagine doing this if you were in the same situation? Perhaps you are in a place where some kind of news is developing and you whip out your cell phone and start recording footage. Have any of you done that? Yes? Yeah. Sure. So what now separates Araullo, the so-called journalist or the reporter, and any one of you guys who has a cell phone and is capable of recording something relevant and posting it on social media? Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm out of a job. But the point is, at this day and age, because of the platform that is available to us, the tenets and the values and the ethics that encompass journalism is actually applicable to everyone already, whether you're just a blogger, you're a reporter like me, or you're a member of the Presidential Communications Group, or wink wink, or any casual user of the internet. Nowadays, it's no longer an excuse to say that, well, I'm not a journalist, so I can post whatever I want, right? So the first thing that we should remember is it's important to have the courage to tell the story, okay? When we say courage to tell the story, reporting or journalism is basically the business of truth-telling. We go out there and look for the facts. And I learned a lot from my time in UP Diliman as a physics student, how to collate the facts, how to present them in an organized manner, and how to make a reasonable conclusion based on the evidence. But it is not just important to present the facts. In fact, the other half of being a journalist or being a reporter is telling a story. So telling stories is not just about presenting facts, because emotion will move people, not facts. And stories are more important than statistics. So it's important to balance both. But as a journalist, it's also important for people to have the humility to be scrutinized. Now, I've certainly had my own share of scrutiny over the years, especially since we're so accessible using social media. And it's important for us to listen, because we falter from time to time. And we can't assume that we have the monopoly of facts, the monopoly of courage, especially since our viewers can be journalists themselves, can be citizen journalists. And gone are the days when we are the gatekeepers of truth. We have to work with the audience to find the stories and to get unique perspectives on different issues. Now, I remember that when I started this work as a reporter, it all stemmed from my experience in UP as a student leader, part of different organizations. where I was able to talk to common folk, drivers, the man on the street, employees, and it really developed a deep level of compassion and purpose for me to be able to use the platform of the news, to use TV, to be able to tell the stories of people who can otherwise, or who otherwise don't have a platform to tell their own stories. So it's important for all journalists to go back to the purpose, the reason why they want to find the truth and they want to tell stories. Now, this purpose has recently led me and a group of my colleagues who are all advocates to form a small group. It's still very small. It's called Fight.ph, where we try to be independent and we try to produce the news specifically for the needs of the digital era, specifically for you guys. And our first project was a 360 video of my own volcano when it was very active earlier this year. So it's a 360 video, which I will show you a clip of right now.
Pero ang pagiging aktibo ng bulkan ay siyang dahilan ng pambihira nitong kagandahan. Kinausap namin si Yusek Renato Solidum Jr. ng Feebox, gamit ang 360 video, para sa amin makilala natin ang bulkan at maiwasan ang dala nitong mga panganib.
So one limitation of digital news in the Philippines is to slow internet. Anyway, just to give you an idea of what we're doing in Fight, this is a 360 video because we wanted to bring people there. We wanted people who would otherwise have no chance to go to Albay and to visit my own volcano to see what it's like. So we attached a 360 camera on a drone. And we also interviewed Director Renato Solidum of Feebox using 360 video to immerse the audience in this experience and hopefully get them hooked in the idea of disaster risk reduction. So we've been doing a lot of stories since this 360 video, not only more 360 videos, but also other features on mental health, on special features for Mother's Day, for Father's Day, and we're really excited with the possibilities. We and I really think that stories have the power to educate, to inspire, and ultimately change people's lives. So we hope that you join us in this passion to create change using stories. Since all of you have admitted to having social media accounts, do follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So we're very excited with the possibilities and we hope to work with other talented and passionate people such as yourselves. Thank you so much.